They always say grief softens, that you'll find forgiveness if you pray hard enough. But they've never sat in this silence, where a name stays sharp behind your eyes. They've never watched the world move on without the ones they loved most. So tonight, you'll answer the question they never could. What's fair when everything you love is gone by morning?
This isn't just horror, it's your worst thoughts, and your best chance to taste them without leaving your bed.
You didn't notice her the first time. Not really. She was folding chairs in the rec room after a community dinner. Faded blue sweater, long gray skirt, white sneakers scuffed at the toes. No makeup, no jewelry, just a black hair tie on her wrist and a smudge of ink near her thumb like she'd been writing something by hand. Her hair was pulled back in a low braid, already slipping loose. She kept brushing it off her shoulder with the back of her wrist. She looked young, not in a childish way, just untouched by whatever made people bitter. There was something soft in her face, something unbothered, and you remember thinking, she's pretty, but she doesn't seem to care if anyone notices. And her eyes, green hazel, depending on the light, stayed focused on whatever she was doing. Calm, quiet, like nothing around her was pulling her off center. When she finally spoke to you, her voice was soft. Not shy, just gentle, musical in the way it wrapped around you. The kind of voice you lean into without realizing you are. You don't have to wear a name tag, she said, without looking up. People still see you. Then she walked away. You didn't know what to do with that. Emily wasn't your type. You didn't go for quiet girls, or church girls, or girls who seemed completely unaffected by whether or not you were paying attention. You liked girls who pushed back, who kept things interesting, who flirted like it was sport. Emily didn't flirt. She didn't ignore you either. She just existed without effort, and that's what unnerved you. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, and somehow, that made you want to earn her attention. You saw her again a couple of weeks later, another church thing. You were helping with sound. She was surrounded by restless middle schoolers, leading some kind of prayer group on the floor. The kids couldn't sit still, and she didn't try to force it. She just listened. One of them was talking about his grandma being sick, how he prayed, but nothing changed. Emily said, "Sometimes we don't hear him either. That doesn't mean he's not close." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't performative. It was just real. And you believed her, even if you didn't believe in what she was talking about. You made a joke about her being God girl. She didn't laugh, just said, "People need something to talk about. I'm fine being that." And that was it. No follow-up. No need to explain herself. You kept offering to help with events after that. Not because you suddenly found religion, because you found her. She didn't give you more attention than you earned, and that was new. She wasn't cold. She just had boundaries and grace inside them. You could say something sharp or clever, and she'd smile a little, like she'd already seen through it, like she knew what you were doing and wasn't mad, just waiting for you to outgrow it. She saw right through you, not in a way that embarrassed you, in a way that made you want to stop hiding. When you finally asked her to get coffee, she didn't hesitate. But she did warn you. I'm not like what you're used to. That's kind of the point, you said. Coffee turned into a walk. A walk turned into dinner. Dinner turned into the longest conversation of your life without anyone checking their phone. She didn't say much about herself, but when she did, it was measured, intentional. She talked about teaching literacy at the library, singing in the church choir, praying before bed, even when she didn't feel like it. You asked her why she believed. She shrugged. Because life's too hard to carry alone. You didn't argue. You didn't have to. You started to change without trying to. You didn't feel ashamed of who you'd been. Just tired of it. Being with her didn't make you feel smaller or exposed. It made you feel like maybe there was something in you worth uncovering. Not fixing, becoming. She brought you to church, sat beside you when you didn't know the words, introduced you to her dad, brought you into a world that was slower, quieter, kinder. You didn't fight it. For the first time, you didn't want to. You proposed a year later. You didn't make a big production. Just took her for a walk behind the church, near the flower beds she helped plant every spring. She wore a dress with tiny blue flowers and sandals that left little dust prints in the gravel. You said, "You don't make me different. You make me more myself. And I don't want to live another day without building a life around you." She said yes, like she'd already known. You married her in early spring, at the old church where she'd volunteered for years. Stone steps, stained glass windows, lavender in the breeze, everyone dressed with care, not because it was fancy, but because it meant something. The sanctuary was filled with quiet piano music and sunlight through colored glass. It felt sacred. It felt like a promise being kept. She wore an ivory lace dress with sleeves that brushed her wrists, and her hair was half up, loose curls falling down her back. No veil, no jewelry, just a single white flower behind her ear from the garden out front. She looked at you like she was walking into something she'd already prayed for. You could hardly breathe. She went first with her vows. I've prayed for this moment, not for a perfect life, but a faithful one. I promise to love you with patience and kindness, to be slow to anger, quick to forgive. I will not boast or keep record of wrongs. I will trust, hope, and endure with you, just as love always should. 1 Corinthians 13, lived, not performed. And when you can't believe in yourself, I'll believe for you, because love is from God, and I know He gave you to me. Then you spoke. I thought I missed my chance at a life like this. I thought I had already messed up too much. But then you walked in. You didn't try to fix me. You didn't flinch when I handed you the rough parts. You just loved me through them. So here's my vow. I'll protect your peace, even when I'm falling apart. I'll choose you when it's easy, and especially when it's not. I'll build the kind of life that makes you feel safe, because loving you is the first thing that's ever made me want to be that kind of man. She didn't cry. but she held your hand like you were something she'd never let slip. And then came Zoe. Unexpected. Loud. Perfect. You weren't sure how to be a father. But she didn't seem to notice. She called you Daddy, like it was the most natural thing in the world, and from that moment on, you belonged to her. She made everything brighter, messier, holy. And the two of them, Emily and Zoe, became your whole world, the part you never thought you'd earn, and the part you knew you couldn't live without. It happens on a Tuesday. The morning is normal. You get Zoe into her socks while she sings about pancakes. Emily drinks tea from her chipped blue mug, humming to herself as she moves around the kitchen. Her braid is loose. There's a smudge of honey on her sleeve. You kiss her goodbye at the door. "Be kind today," she says. "I'll try." "Try harder." She smiles. Zoe waves. The front door closes. You watch them through the window, just long enough to see the car turn out of the driveway. You never see them again. The knock comes at 10:12 a.m. 3 short raps. Not loud, not frantic, just final. You open the door, already uneasy. 2 officers in uniform. A woman behind them, in plain clothes with a badge around her neck and a clipboard in her hands. She doesn't speak first. "Mr. Mercer?" You nod. "May we come in?" You don't answer, but you step back. They lead you to the couch. You don't remember sitting down. The older officer clears his throat. There's no easy way to say this. And already you know. You don't breathe. You don't blink. There was an accident. A collision. High speed. Wrong lane. The driver. He was impaired. Emily died at the scene. Your daughter? She was still breathing when emergency services arrived. She was airlifted to county, but... You stop hearing the rest. You nod at the right times. You sign something. Your name in your own handwriting. But it doesn't feel like yours. They give you a card. Someone from victim services. They offer to call someone for you. You say no. They leave. You sit. Then the door opens again. Emily's father walks in without knocking. His face is blotchy, eyes red. He doesn't speak. He crosses the room and drops to his knees in front of you, grabs your forearm like he's falling through the floor. You let him. You don't say a word. And then come the others. Church ladies, neighbors, someone from the school board, a cousin, 2 people you don't even recognize, but who hug you like they're sure it'll help. They bring food, too much food, casseroles, sandwich trays, soup in slow cookers. They wipe the counters, rearrange the chairs. They whisper. They cry in your hallway. They say her name over and over. Emily had such a gift. Emily made everyone feel seen. Emily lit up every room. And you want to say, she lit up this house, and now it's dark. But you don't. You nod. You thank them. You shake hands. You accept plates you don't eat. Someone puts on soft music in the kitchen. You turn it off. Your brother arrives. No tie, just quiet anger in his jaw. "I'll handle the logistics," he says. "You just rest." Rest. That word makes you want to hit something. At some point, a woman you barely know, maybe from church, leans in and says, "At least they went together. At least they didn't suffer." And that's the first time the numbness starts to crack. You nod anyway, because the alternative is screaming. The fridge hums. The slow cooker clicks off. Someone puts foil on something and writes your name on it, like you'll forget who it's for. They start whispering about funeral homes. You walk into the bathroom and lock the door. You don't cry. You just sit on the floor and stare at the baseboard. By nightfall, the house is still full, but quieter. The voices have dulled. The hugs have slowed. Someone offers to stay. You say no. You just want sleep. But when you lie down in your bed, you smell her shampoo on the pillow. You stare at the ceiling for hours. And when the sun rises again, it doesn't feel like morning. It just feels like another day they're not in. The first few days are noise. People calling. People showing up. People saying things they think will help. You let them. It's easier than being alone. You sit through conversations you don't remember. Numb hugs. Handwritten cards. Someone brings you Emily's favorite pie, and you almost throw it away, just to make them stop pretending this is still a home. You start to keep track of the lies people tell. She's in a better place. God's plan is bigger than ours. They wouldn't want you to suffer. They mean well, but none of them know what they're talking about. You move through the funeral like you're watching someone else from above. Emily in that dress, the one from your wedding, the one she said made her feel like herself. You stand there and shake hands and say thank you and nod while people cry against your shoulder. You barely look at Zoe's casket. It's too small. You think, they shouldn't make them that size. Nights are the worst. The house is quieter than it's ever been. You used to think silence was peace. Now it sounds like pressure, like something you're supposed to break under. You start sleeping on the couch, not because it's comfortable, because it doesn't smell like her pillow. You forget to eat. Then you eat everything. Then nothing again. You start going on walks late at night, around the block. No destination, just movement. Sometimes you cry on them. Sometimes you just breathe. Once, you end up outside the house where the man who hit them lives. You don't remember deciding to go there. You just find yourself across the street, parked in your car, staring at his porch light. Nothing happens. You drive away. But you think about it again the next night. You start hearing things, not voices, just moments. Zoe's laugh, Emily calling your name, her humming in the kitchen, the click of her wedding ring against the counter. You hear them when the house is dark. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it guts you. A month goes by. Then 2. People stop checking in. Life returns to normal for everyone else, but you're stuck. Still in the doorway, still at the knock, still saying goodbye without ever finding the words. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no slammed door, no blood boil moment, just pressure, quiet, steady, rising, like something under the floorboards waiting to split. You've known his name from the start. You heard it the same day you lost them. Whispered by a neighbor, repeated by someone at the church. You didn't react then. Couldn't. Everything was fog, but the name never left you. It hung in the back of your skull like something rotting. He was drunk, very drunk. The report said his blood alcohol was more than twice the legal limit. He'd left a bar south of town after being overserved for hours, on camera. Bartender knew his name, knew his father's too. Still let him get behind the wheel. He was doing 78 in a 45. Swerved into oncoming traffic. Never hit the brakes. He killed them like it was nothing. And then? He lawyered up before the bodies were cold. Didn't speak to your family. Didn't show up at the service. Didn't apologize. Not once. Just issued a statement through his attorney about deep regret and unforeseen tragedy. Used the word accident 5 times. He didn't lose his license right away. He didn't sit in a cell. He didn't sit with you in that church. He walked free. His father made a donation to the school district 3 days later. His uncle called in a favor with the DA. You heard the plea deal was already being shaped before the autopsy was done. They said he was young. Said his future mattered. Said prison might harm more than it helped. You don't believe in hell, but if you did, it would look a lot like this town. A place where names decide outcomes. Where your wife and daughter are reduced to the victims. And the man who ended their lives goes back to his golf club while people say he must be going through a lot. You don't scream. You don't curse. You watch. You start driving by his house. Not every night. Just enough. You learn his routines. You see him out front once, talking on the phone, pacing barefoot in the driveway, with a beer in his hand. Laughing. Laughing. The first time you imagine killing him, it doesn't feel like murder. It feels like balance. You start writing things down. Not because you have a plan, but because something in you refuses to forget. The names, the numbers, the details they'll try to bury. You're not drifting anymore. You're tracking, and soon you're going to decide what happens next. You don't wake up one day and decide to kill someone. It's not like that. It's more like you stop pretending that you won't. You don't feel guilt when the idea settles in. You feel clarity. There's no part of you that imagines a future where he pays enough, suffers enough, feels anything close to what he made you feel. So you stop imagining that future, and you start preparing for a different one. It starts simple. You drive by his house at different times of day. Take note of patterns. Mornings, he's gone by 7:45. Nights, he gets home around 10. Thursdays, a girl parks out front and stays until morning. You write that down. You write everything down. You stop parking in front of the house. You find side streets, better angles, trees to blend behind. He never looks over his shoulder. Why would he? No one's ever taught him to. You start listening more carefully in town. A waitress at the diner says he's working with his dad now. Some development deal on the east side. She doesn't say his name, but her voice drops when she brings him up. People are polite when they talk about him. Too polite. It makes your skin itch. You visit the crash site again, but this time you measure, literally, step by step, tree to tree, the curve in the road, how long it would take to block it, how fast someone would have to be going to survive an impact if they weren't drunk and stupid and protected. You run the numbers like math will make it real. Like logic will help you do what you already know you're going to do. You don't talk to anyone about this. You nod at the clerk in the hardware store. You say thank you when the pharmacist hands you your prescription. You let the woman at church put her hand on your shoulder and say she's praying for you. We all just want to see healing, she says. You smile, and you think you'll see it. The notebook fills with addresses, maps, names of people who helped him, people who looked the other way, people who signed off on this as unfortunate. You don't fantasize about revenge. You build it, like a shed, one screw at a time. He doesn't ask where you're going. Maybe because his mouth is too dry. Maybe because his hands are cuffed and his ankles are shackled, and he knows it won't matter. Maybe, just maybe, because a part of him already knows. The road stretches out like a sentence. No music. No headlights from behind. Just you, him, and the engine rattling against the silence. When you finally pull off the road, the tires crunch gravel. You roll through a gap in a rusted chain-link fence, the gate hanging open like a jaw that forgot how to close. It's a place long since abandoned, a kind of graveyard for machines and things better left behind. The air smells like old oil, copper, and dirt too tired to pretend it's alive. You stop the car, kill the engine, and the quiet that follows is the kind you only find in places no one talks about anymore. You step out, drag him into the dark. Ahead is the yard. To the left, a still black lake that doesn't ripple even when the wind stirs. To the right, a barrel marked with warnings in a language no one speaks sober. Near it, a wood chipper sagging in its rust, quiet for now but hungry looking. Further out, the earth is soft, where the backhoe gave up trying to smooth it over. You walk him to the center, moonlight catching his face. He doesn't speak, not now. You lay out the choices like a man laying down cards. He looks at them, then at you. And maybe for the first time since this all began, he understands that there won't be a rescue, that this isn't a performance, that there's no audience. You don't ask him to choose, because this choice was never his to make. This part, the how, the when, the weight of it, that belongs to someone else, not to him. To you, to the one watching, to the one who's been here the whole time. And now you look away from him, and you look toward them. He doesn't answer, just stands there, knees shaking. And now comes the part no one prepared you for. You look at the tools, you look at him, and you think, what's fair? You think about Emily's eyes the last time she looked at you. Zoe's laugh through the backseat window. You think about courtrooms that closed too soon, and friends who stopped calling, and how grief sounds when it has no mouth to scream from. And now, here, in the dark, with 4 ways to end this, you pause. You weigh them. each one vivid, each one permanent. You see the fear in his eyes. You see the end crawling toward him in 4 different shapes. And you know, this choice has always been yours to make. You breathe. You already know which one you'll choose. So what would you choose? The grave, slow, smothering, and aware until the last clawed breath. The barrel, quiet, chemical, nothing left but hiss and memory. The chipper, sudden, brutal and final enough to stain the trees. The lake, cold, tethered, and gone forever beneath the surface. Each ending has a truth. Each one has a price. You sit on the hood of your car. You watch him shake. You don't move. Because tonight isn't about what you do. It's about what you decide. And that's what no one gave you before. Now, you get to choose how this story ends.
New nightmares. Every week. Subscribe if you want to know what happens next.